When we have a former NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen appointed as an advisor to the President of Ukraine Petro Poroshenko, we have US appointing Iraq War General and ex-CENTCOM chief as Ukraine's senior defense advisor. When we have the United States assigning its war assets to Ukraine, why do you think that these people who've been involved in the deadly wars around the world are moving to Ukraine with their skills and experience? I wonder what is the logic behind those moves. General John Abizaid, former head of the US Central Command, has been appointed as a senior defense advisor to Ukraine's top military brass, with the stated goal of bringing it in line with the Western principles and standards. The announcement was made at a meeting between the US Defense Secretary Ashton Carter and his Ukrainian counterpart, Stepan Poltorak. General Abizaid will provide authoritative advice to Minister Poltorak and other senior Ukraine officials as Ukraine aims to implement reforms designed to bring its armed forces in line with the Western principles and standards. So that means General Abizaid will have real power in Ukraine. General Abizaid, a career officer who has seen various deployments since the 1991 Gulf War and Iraq War. This American general will be in charge of what Carter described as enhancing democratic and civilian control of the Ukrainian armed forces, transitioning to NATO staff structure. I call it as I see it. Those two generals will be in charge of Russian and Ukrainian war that will involve all NATO alliance. This is going to be real hell on this planet.
Well, over to Ukraine now, where the President Petro Poroshenko has ordered all military units along the border with Crimea and near to the conflict zone in the Donbass region to be at the highest level of combat readiness. This comes a day after Russia's Federal Security Service reported that it uncovered the Ukrainian intelligence service operating in Crimea. The FSB announced it successfully prevented 2 terrorist attacks in Crimea being plotted by a network of agents allegedly working for Ukraine's chief intelligence agency. They were planning to target key infrastructure in the peninsula. During the raids, 1 federal security officer and 1 Russian serviceman were killed as gunfire was exchanged between the 2 sides. Various explosive devices you can see there, including grenades and different types of ammunition, were allegedly also found at the site of the raid.
Including the massing of the military forces of Russia along the administrative border with Crimea, along the border with Ukraine, along the separation line in Donbass. We're talking altogether about more than 40,000 of Russian troops, both inside Ukraine, including Crimea, and very close to the Ukrainian border on the territory of Russia. This is not a coincidence. These numbers may reflect some very bad intentions, and this is the last thing we would like to happen.
Russian military forces are participating in military drills in 8 locations, near Crimea and very close to the border with Ukraine. Defense officials said that it is not clear whether the massing of Russian armed forces by Moscow is designed to invade Ukraine for not accepting the takeover of Crimea, or the other reason for large Russian military drills. It could be the preparation for the next big conflict. Regardless of the reason, the warning time for Russian action has been greatly reduced. Russian military forces were identified by the officials at 8 locations near the Ukrainian border: Yelnya, Klintsi, Valuiki, Bochugar, Milerovo, Perzhanovsky, and bases called Rostov 1 and Rostov 2. As many as 40,000 Russian troops, including tanks, armored vehicles, and Air Force units, are now positioning along Ukraine's eastern border with Russia. Additionally, large numbers, I am talking about more than 120,000 of Russian military forces, conducted the military exercises just few days ago. The Pentagon officials say those Russian military exercises could be used as a cover for an attack on Ukraine. Russian units will likely practice reinforcing the Crimean Peninsula through such activities as amphibious landings and air defense exercises. This may involve the change of equipment and long convoys of military vehicles. The military exercises of such size is a clear sign that something big is about to take place. Similar, very large-scale Russian exercises were conducted near Ukraine a month before, when Moscow carried out the covert military operation to take over the strategic Black Sea Peninsula in March 2014. Navy Captain Denny Hernandez said that, I quote, "We are extremely concerned about the increased tensions near the boundary between the Crimea and the rest of Ukraine. We urge both sides to avoid provocative steps or rhetoric that could escalate the situation." In my previous video, I showed you that Russia will have over 2,000 military drills this summer, ending in October. 2,000 military drills before October. Does that sound alarming to you? When the dollar collapses and when we start seeing a military coup in Russia this month or next month. Breaking News TV will keep you updated with the real news, where it's becoming increasingly hard to find it on YouTube. You can find all our best videos on Breaking News TV YouTube channel. Is Russia conducting a massive mobilization of its troops for an invasion of Ukraine? The drumbeats of war are growing louder. Fighting in eastern Ukraine between the separatists and pro-government forces has risen to a level not seen in the last 12 months. The Russians claim that they recently foiled the Ukrainian plot to conduct a terror attack in Crimea. This terror plot was engineered to provoke Russia into a full-scale conflict, but it failed. As tensions in the region have increased, the Russians are using the cover of military drills to move massive amounts of troops and military equipment to the multiple places on the border with Ukraine. This is something that I was talking about in my previous video, but things have intensified since then. Needless to say, the Ukrainians are quite alarmed by this, and the president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, is warning that a full-scale mobilization of the military forces may be needed. If something is going to happen, it is likely to happen very soon. Many analysts predict that once we get into October, it will become much more likely that we would see Russian invasion of Ukraine.
First ever amphibious landing from the Black Sea onto the Ukrainian coastline.
15 amphibious assault vehicles packed with both US and Ukrainian Marines secured a beach south of the port city of Odessa before heading inland as part of the annual multinational naval exercise Sea Breeze.
This year the US Navy deployed 2 ships, the USS Ross, a guided missile destroyer, and this ship, the USS Whitby Island, which acted as a launching pad for the amphibious operation.
The Black Sea is bounded by 6 countries linking southeastern Europe and western Asia. Since the Russian annexation of Crimea in 2014, the security situation here has been very tense at times. This footage shows a Russian fighter jet flying over the USS Donald Cook in the Baltic Sea earlier this year. A similar incident happened on the same ship in the Black Sea in 2014, a move condemned by the US as unnecessary provocation. For Exercise Sea Breeze, however, the US Navy experienced no such hostility.
I would tell you that our interactions with the Russians so far in the Black Sea have been nothing but professional. We've had them sailing off our beam much of the time in the Black Sea, and nothing but professional. They're out there, we know they're out there. We're not hiding from them. It's sort of hard to hide us. We're large, but we're here and no issues.
For Ukraine, a long-standing NATO partner, and the other allies that operate here, the importance of the Black Sea cannot be underestimated.
The Black Sea was always the window to the Europe for the all Eastern Slavic community. Now it's for Ukraine. We see the Black Sea again as a place of different political interests are connected. And of course, if a global power like NATO or United States will not take care or have at least some presence in this area, it can be a huge challenge to the whole European security.
For the Ukrainian Navy, exercises such as Sea Breeze provide the perfect opportunity to strengthen ties with their partners.
Это сближает наши страны, повышает уровень доверия между военнослужащими разных стран мира и стабилизирует безопасность и обстановку в Черноморском регионе. Поэтому для нас это очень важно. Мы можем найти новых друзей, поделиться с кем-то опытом и сблизить наши страны, построить между ними мосты дружбы.
It is this continued cooperation and support which was reiterated during the recent NATO summit in Warsaw. While it was recognized that Russia has continued to build up its presence in the Black Sea, the NATO position is to remain purely defensive.
When a regional navy meets a navy that, comes from halfway across the globe, that's an exchange of ideas. It's not a matter of escalating towards any event. If you look at the Sea Breeze schedule of events and things we do, these are the same types of interactions and maritime events, air events that we do all over the globe.
This year, YouTube has updated its algorithms regarding advertiser-friendly content twice. For us, it simply means that Breaking News TV YouTube channel and many other similar YouTube channels will not get any financial support from YouTube. We are working really hard to report real news to you. Unfortunately, 80% of our videos are not advertiser-friendly. That means we do not get any financial support from YouTube. $1, €1 or £1. It means very little to most of you, but it means a lot to our YouTube channel. Use any debit or credit card to donate $1, €1 or £1 through PayPal. Also, we want to say thank you to you all for your donations. Thank you for supporting Breaking News TV YouTube channel.
US spy planes have been intercepted while approaching Russian airspace over the Black Sea. RT's Murad Gazdiev has more on this story.
Over a 24-hour period, American spy planes made repeated attempts to get close to the Russian border, the Russian Defense Ministry says. Unfortunately, they were detected both times as they approached the Russian coast. Fighter jets were scrambled in Crimea. They intercepted those American spy planes, and the spy planes turned around, headed back out towards the Black Sea. The Americans have confirmed that an incident took place, and they, as tradition dictates now, blamed the Russians.
The incident was an unsafe, close-range intercept of a Navy Poseidon aircraft while it conducted routine operations in international airspace over the Black Sea.
The aircraft we're talking about is the American P-8 Poseidon, a modern, sophisticated maritime aircraft designed to hunt submarines and ships. Its secondary role, though, is electronic surveillance, and these have tried multiple times over the last several weeks to get close to the Russian border. Now, here's, just for reference, a map showing you the Black Sea. The incident happened somewhere here. This is 8,000 kilometers away from the United States and within 100 kilometers of Russia. So the Russians are being accused of being hostile for chasing away a potential adversary from their borders. But what happens when the roles are reversed?
The Russian jet has buzzed a U.S. Navy spy plane. We don't know how close precisely, but it's described as dangerously close.
It was a very close interaction indeed. Pentagon officials saying that an Su-27 Russian jet earlier today flew within 10 feet of a U.S. Navy P-8 patrol aircraft.
You may remember, back in June, there were a few big stories about how NATO fighter jets had to be scrambled to intercept Russian aircraft in the Baltics. They were flying then in international airspace, yet nevertheless, Russia was being hostile. It seems like a no-win situation. If Russia chases away NATO jets at its borders, it's being hostile. If Russian jets fly next to NATO member states, it's being hostile.
The American planes were flying in what the military calls silent mode, with their transponders switched off, which are used to identify aircraft. When turned off, planes remain undetected by radar. Aside from military concerns, passenger flights over the Black Sea were allegedly endangered because of the jets' clandestine maneuvers. As you can see, the Black Sea is a very busy area, and flying with transponders switched off does not let surrounding aircraft know that there's a jet nearby. We discussed the incident with military analysts.
It's extremely dangerous, and it's basically a provocation for a hostile act. And I think that the Russian Ministry of Defense should file a formal complaint about that. When an aircraft like that is flying without its transponders, it cannot be identified, and it was only right that Russian jets scrambled to at least identify what the aircraft was. And basically, with the transponder off, it tells me at least that the aircraft was probing, sensing what would light up, what radar systems would light up that would cause that would be alerted, and what defense systems would be would come on as a result in order to identify where they are actually located. And be in that area is almost a provocation in and of itself. You don't see Russian aircraft flying within 100 kilometers of the U.S. border or stationing ships out as we have.
Seems to be a policy-driven provocation, something that is geared to produce a reaction that might play into the hands of those in the United States who are looking for conflict. When we do have an exercise of when you want to watch them. So I don't think it's a coincidence.